Hey guys, it's Laurence here, and today I thought it was about time. I'm going to share something with you that I have never shared before. I've only ever shared it, I've held it back and only shared it with our top paying clients. What I'm about to share with you has generated me personally well over $1 million. It's the secret to the success, and it's what's enabled us to not only grow our own agency, but take our clients' agencies that are struggling and really help them turn things around so they can start having wildly successful campaigns. And what I'm about to share with you is actually a training taken from what we call our content portal, which we give to our highest paying clients. It's also in our membership as well. So it's only reserved for paying clients. And today I'm sharing it with you. Take a watch, have a look. It's going to change the way that you grow your agency. I promise you that. Enjoy. If you have any questions, let me know. And at the end, if you've got value from this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next video. But let's let the rest of this video roll. Welcome to this video called Interpreting Data. Now, this is probably one of the most important videos that you're going to watch. It's it's the glue that puts everything together. It's how you're going to make progress when it comes to optimizing your campaigns. And it really might kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, so to speak. So in terms of what we're going to cover today, we're going to look at causal links. So basically what parts of different funnels impact other parts. We're going to look at logging your hypothesis. So making sure that we are basically keeping track of everything that we're testing and all the different hypotheses that we're creating and different scientific experiments that we're running with. And then we're going to look at analyzing data as well. So let's take a look at causal links. So first off is, what the hell is a causal link? It's basically a sequence of events where each event causes the next one in line, creating a cause and effect relationship that links them together. So kind of like a domino effect almost. We use causal links to analyze and explain the relationships between each area of our marketing funnels. So it's really important that we know which element of a funnel impacts another element. And what we want to do is break down each kind of major funnel and look at the elements of each funnel and see how they interact with one another. And the first one we're going to look at is an email outreach funnel. So below this video, you'll find a worksheet that walks through each part of the outreach process and the causal links within the funnel. So let's take a look. This is going to, transfer to all versions of email outreach campaigns, whether we use a video, whether we don't, whatever it may be, this can be transferred. I've made this kind of purely based around sending out videos through email because that's going to be one of the more complex funnels. So it's important that we understand the most complex funnel. Therefore, every kind of more simplistic funnel is going to be easier to understand. So I hope that makes sense. So this is our email outreach causal links worksheet. Bit of a mouthful, I know, but it is going to really put everything together for you. So in this worksheet, we're going to cover the causal links and interrelationships within a cold email funnel. The goal here is for you to understand exactly how cold email funnels work. So when you're looking at data from your campaigns, you're not sat there scratching your head thinking, I don't have a clue what's happening. You're basically able to understand it properly and make more informed decisions on how to improve your campaign performance. It's a bit like opening up the hood of a car and your engine's broken and you don't know how to fix it. If you understood how an engine actually worked, you'd be able to fix it pretty quickly. And that's the same with any form of marketing campaign as well. If you understand the individual elements and the relationships between them, and you basically understand how it's built, then if something breaks, you're able to fix it. And if there's a bottleneck, you're able to remove it. And that's basically what we're trying to do here. So here's basically every element of a cold email campaign, starting from the very top of the funnel all the way down. So all the elements that go into a campaign when it comes to cold email, this is them in sequential order. So first off, we've got domains, because without domains, we can't have emails. So we can't have an email service provider without a domain, because they're attached to one another. So the very first one is domains, then email service provider, and then we have email warmup, which creates domain and email health. And then once we've got our domains and email addresses organized, we then need to get some leads. So we've got the lead quality, and then we've got leads, how many we're going to reach out to and how frequently. So we've got sending volume and sending frequency. Those things are going to determine the deliverability rate. And then the deliverability rate, the next thing in line is going to be the subject line. So once the email is actually delivered, what happens next? Well, they read a subject line. What happens once they read a subject line? They then open the email. They then read the first line. They then read the email copy. They then might read your email offer. They might then kind of consume your overall email strategy, which might be a video, for example, a Loom video. They then might click on that video, which is going to create a click-through rate, and then they're going to click on a video, which is going to create a video click, and then they're going to view the video, which is going to create a video view rate, and then they might reply in a positive way. If they reply in a negative way, we don't want to obviously kind of entertain that or even track those metrics, and then we will get somebody click on our calendar. And from our calendar click, somebody might book a call. So that is the minutiae, very detailed funnel of cold email. It's not, get some leads, send some emails, get some calls booked. There's actually, as I've said here, there's 20 steps. And some play a more significant role than others in the process, but understanding how each step impacts others is how we're going to succeed in cold email. So again, back to that analogy of a car engine. If your car breaks down and you know exactly how the engine is built, you know how to fix it. Imagine if a car broke down and you actually built the car with your bare hands and something happened to it. It's going to be relatively straightforward to fix it. You know how to fix it. And that's what we're going to achieve right now. So there's some language that I'm going to use throughout this training called upstream and downstream. So basically the highest element upstream is domains. So think maybe top of funnel or upstream, however you want to call it. The language I'm going to use is upstream. And the lowest element downstream is calendar bookings. So this is upstream, and then the stream goes on, all the way to the bottom of the stream. Downstream is calendar bookings. So this is the language we use when assessing a campaign. So just to get that kind of clarification out there, so you know what on earth I'm talking about when I say upstream and downstream. This is upstream, this is downstream, and everything in between, like calendar link click is upstream of calendar bookings, and calendar link click is downstream of positive reply rate. Hopefully that makes sense. So most elements in the funnel are impacted by something upstream. So just to be clear, most things are impacted by the thing that has happened before them. Think about that domino effect. The thing that pushes the domino over is the previous domino, the domino upstream. All the upstream dominoes impact the downstream dominoes. So, for example, if you have poor lead quality, it can't be because of anything downstream. It can't be because you've got low video view rates. That's not the reason why your leads are bad. Your video view rates, if they're bad, it's probably because your leads are bad, not the other way around. So it's either a standalone problem. So lead quality is pretty much a standalone problem. It's not impacted by what domains you buy or which email service provider you use. It's a standalone problem. So they are either problems in a funnel are either standalone, very rarely are they standalone, it's only really lead quality that is, or they're impacted by something further upstream or a combination of things upstream. And this is the general rule, but as with everything, just to be complicated, there are exceptions to the rule. So there are elements of the funnel that impact other upstream elements. So, for example, a poor open rate could be due to the email strategy or your email copy. So, open rate is here, and it could be negatively impacted by something further downstream. So that is a exception to the rule, not the general rule. So this makes understanding the interrelationships and causal links of the funnel more complex because it's not a linear process. And below, we're going to cover each exception to the rule individually and understand how they're influenced by other elements within the funnel. So thus far, everything, you can basically say that all of this is linear and it's only impacted by things further upstream. Each element is only impacted by something further upstream, apart from a couple of exceptions to the rule. One of them being deliverability rate. So this can be impacted by things happening downstream. The funnel elements that can be impacted, that can impact it, are email copy and email strategy. Why? If your email copy contains spam keywords, the email service providers aren't going to deliver your email. And if the email strategy includes sending large files, videos, or images, for example, then the email service providers aren't going to deliver your email. So just to be clear, if we got a poor deliverability rate, we're not going to necessarily only associate that with things that happen upstream. It could be a multitude of things. It could be anything that happens upstream, or it could be email copy or email strategy. Because, as I say, if your email copy contains loads of spam keywords, then the email service providers are going to reduce your deliverability rate. If your strategy has huge files in email sending, then the deliverability rate is going to drop. So it's important to understand how email strategy, for example, and email copy can impact something else in the funnel further upstream. Now, these things can obviously, email copy and email strategy, can impact lots of things downstream as well, but they can also impact certain things upstream, i.e. deliverability rate. And then obviously one of the biggest kind of relationships is deliverability rate and open rate. If you're not getting your emails delivered, then you're not going to get your emails opened. So that's a really big one. So I hope this is making sense. Another exception to the rule is domain and email health. So let's just have a look at where this is on the funnel. We've got domain and email health. So there's not many things further upstream than this. There's just 3 other things. But it can be impacted by things happening downstream. The funnel elements that can impact it are sending volume and sending frequency. Why is this? If you overload your email address and send out too many emails, it's going to negatively impact the health of your domains and emails, which impacts the health of the entire funnel. So if our sending volume, which is downstream of domain and email warm-up, is too high, or our sending frequency is too high, then it's going to negatively impact the domain and email health. So this worksheet is going to give you, this is how you understand the complexity of the funnel and how everything, all the causal links within the funnel and the interrelationships between each funnel element. So that is our email outreach causal links worksheet. And you'll also find below this, not below this funnel, but below this video, you're going to find the DM ads worksheet. So let's look at this one. So hopefully now you've got an understanding and you kind of understand the concept of it. And now it's just kind of understanding each individual funnel. So in this worksheet, we're going to cover the causal links and interrelationships with the paid DM ads funnel. The goal here is for you to understand exactly how the funnel works. So when you're looking at the data from your campaigns, you're able to understand it properly and make more informed decisions on how to improve your campaign performance. So here's every element of a paid DM ads campaign. And there's actually a lot more elements here, but I've kind of removed some or not included some because they're not super necessary. So we've got at the very highest point upstream, we've got your ad offer. And then we've got your ad creative. Then we've got your ad copy. Then your audience selection, your placement selection, your budget inside the ad platform, your campaign structure, and then we've got your Instagram profile, and then somebody's going to go into see your DM message, and then you're going to have a conversation with them inside the DMs, and then the calendar booking page, and then they're actually going to book a calendar. So they're going to see your offer, basically your ad. These three things constitute your ad, and then it's going to go all the way down from ad offer through the funnel to calendar booking. And there are 12 main steps above. Some play a more significant role than others in the process, but again, understanding how each step impacts others is how we're going to succeed with your paid ads DM campaign. So as I mentioned, the highest element upstream is ad offer, and the lowest element downstream is calendar booking. And this, again, is the language we use when assessing a campaign. Each element of the funnel here is impacted by elements upstream, which makes understanding the data here a little bit easier. So there's not many complexities around, downstream elements impacting upstream elements. It's all kind of linear and as it should be. But just to add a slight complexity to it, some elements are going to be impacted by something immediately upstream, or it can be impacted by things that are happening further upstream. So it's important to understand that, let's say, for example, your funnel is breaking, right? So the skill is identifying which element or elements is responsible and then changing it quickly. So we do this through a combination of intuition, which comes from experience, and scientific testing. If we don't have the intuition basically, scientific testing comes from intuition. That's how we decide what we're going to test first, and then we gather data through experiments to understand whether or not our hypothesis was correct, basically. So let's say, for example, you are getting a DM message, but the conversations aren't really happening. People aren't replying to your messages. You're not getting any calls booked, and it's kind of breaking down here. Nobody's replying. You've messaged them, they've messaged you once, and they're just not replying again. Now, that's not necessarily the fault of the initial message that you sent. It could be the fact that your Instagram profile is a bit crappy. It could be that your budget is really high and you're attracting the wrong type of people. It means that your campaign structure could be wrong. You could be spending way too much money on one single audience, and therefore you're not actually attracting the right segment of that audience. It could be that your ad offer, the highest thing upstream, isn't very compelling. And although it's compelling enough to get somebody to maybe send you an initial message, they're not wanting to carry on the conversation because it's not quite as exciting as they want it to be. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the most immediate thing upstream is the problem. It could be a multitude of elements that are creating the bottleneck, or it could be one that is hidden. So you might not be getting any messages, but you're getting lots of clicks, or maybe that's because you're targeting the wrong audience, for example. So that is your paid DM ads causal links worksheet. And we also have the paid VSL ads funnel worksheet below this video available for download. And if we take a look at this one as well, so very, very similar. Here we've got every element of a paid VSL campaign. So we've got ad offer, ad creative, ad copy, audience, placement, budget, campaign structure. But instead of now Instagram profile, we've got landing page, because we're driving traffic to a landing page, and then to a video page, and then there's the video sales letter, and then there's the calendar booking, and then there's the calendar booking page, and then there's the calendar booking. And there are 12 main steps above, and again, some play a more significant role than others in the process, but understanding how they all interact and work with one another is how you're going to succeed. And as always, ad offer is the highest element upstream. Calendar booking is the lowest element downstream. And just like before, this is linear. There is not something that is impacted by something further downstream. But again, it's not necessarily only one element that creates a bottleneck. And it doesn't mean that if nobody's converting on your video sales letter, for example, it doesn't mean that your web page just needs optimizing. It could be that you're sending the wrong traffic there, or that your ad offer isn't good enough, or that your ad creative and your ad copy are not congruent with what's being said on the video sales letter. So how do we know what is to blame, basically? Ultimately, we don't know the answer. We can use our intuition to come up with reasons as to why we think something might be the bottleneck, or things might be the bottleneck, plural, but we still don't know the answer. And the only true way to know is to test. So a good mentality to get into is, I don't know the answer, but I know how to find out. That's the only true way of kind of being successful with marketing, is not thinking you know, but knowing that you know how to find out, and being kind of relentless in your testing. So that is the VSL ads causal links worksheet. So back to the training. So now we want to look at logging your hypothesis, and this is really the key to long-term success. And what a lot of people suffer from is something I call data debt. So a risk we all face when it comes to acquisition is getting drowned in data and not being able to make use of it. It's what I call data debt, and we want to make sure we log everything in an organized way so we don't end up paying data debt. So a lot of people don't even get this far. They don't even bother to collate data, so therefore they don't know how to make adjustments, and we'll get onto that in a second. But we want to make sure that you don't suffer or pay data debt. And I strongly recommend that you use Google Drive for everything we're about to cover. But whether you use Google Drive or a different storage system, you want to make sure that everything's in one central place. And below this video, you're going to find you're going to find the logging your hypothesis worksheet, which looks like this. In this worksheet, we're going to cover how to log your hypothesis so you don't get drowned in data and create data debt that costs you both time and money. We can do this by first creating our hypothesis clearly and then evaluating the results of that hypothesis after our campaign has finished and storing the data effectively. We do this through our logging hypothesis worksheet, and you can click here and make your own copy, and it looks something like this. So what we've got here, and you can see there's different sheets. We've got email, DM ads, VSL ads, and you can very easily kind of create duplicates of it if you wish. And then we want to number our hypothesis. So you can number these 1, 2, 3, 4 as you go down. And what we want to do is, first off, we want all of these things here, all of these cells. So we're going to have hypothesis number 1 here. And we want all of these cells to be hyperlinks to a Google Drive, for example, which stores everything. So you want to pretend this is like my version of a Google Drive. I've called it hypothesis tracking. It's inside it's just a folder in Google Drive. I recommend you create something similar. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create another folder called hypothesis 1. And in this folder, we're going to create, so we could do this a couple of ways. You could use one doc, or you could create multiple docs. I would actually create multiple docs. So I'm going to call this H1 lead source. So what I'm going to do now is, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to log every element of, let's say we're sending out a Loom strategy email. I'm trying to log every single element of a Loom campaign. So the first thing is the lead source. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to write where I got my leads from for this campaign. So I may get my leads from Apollo, and I've basically got a search filter. So when I went into Apollo, what was the search filter that I used? Maybe I could include a link to the Apollo list. Maybe I could write down the actual search filter criteria. So maybe I targeted geography was USA, employee size was 0 to 10, etc., etc. And then I might get a link to spreadsheet with leads list. So it's all here. Everything around my hypothesis number 1 is right here. And then what I can do is I can grab this and I can basically create a link to it. And that is now, we're starting to build it out. So sending volume. So now what we want to do is we want to basically log what our sending volume looked like. So again, we can either come in here and we can create, I can get rid of this now, we can create a new Google Doc, or we could write it in here depending on what you want to do. So we could say, for example, we sent 50 emails a day, and we did 10K total leads. So we might want to, I don't know what the maths looks like here, but we could say like we used 100 email addies. Something like that. So now we can see this. We might want to come up here and click in like insert note, and we might blah, 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 type in a little bit more information. So email copy. We're now going to take our email copy. We're going to add in, we're going to come in here and we're going to type in H1 email copy. And we're going to write our email copy here. We're going to come up here and we are going to copy link. We're going to come back into our sheet and we are going to write here and we're going to link it in. Same goes for, well, email strategy. We could write Loom, for example, video script. We do the exact same thing. We'd call this H1. Video script goes here, and we come back in and we link it in. Obviously, it takes a reasonable amount of time, but without doing this, without logging the data, I can guarantee you with 100% certainty, it will take you so much more time to get to your end goal. Yes, you have to do the kind of annoying little niggly bits of tracking, but without this tracking, you're never ever going to get to where you want to get to. And if you do, it's going to come through luck rather than judgment. And I say this from experience. I never used to do this stuff, and it took me so long, like well over 9 months. Like a baby can be born in the time it took me to figure out how to actually consistently get emails on my calendar, calls on my calendar through email. I couldn't do it, and it's because I didn't have a system like this. And the concern I have is that you do have a system like this, but you think, this seems like too much like hard work, I'm not going to do it. And you will have a lot more hard work ahead of you if you don't do this. I can absolutely guarantee you that. So please make sure that you use this. And then video example. So we could have like a link to the page that your video is on, or you could come in here and you could either create a doc with a link to a web page, or you could just link it there. So now we've got like hypothesis 1 created. We run that campaign and we basically see how well it performs. We look at our open rate and we look at our appointment booking rate, and we see whether or not it's basically, sufficient, if it's working well. And if it is, then our hypothesis was correct. If it isn't, we need to analyze the data and create a new hypothesis. So that's basically what it boils down to. So we've got our hypothesis, we've launched the campaign, we've got our results. Now we need to analyze the data. So doing the boring work. Now, most people fail before the analysis even begins. They fail by not tracking their campaigns in the first place. Without tracking, we don't have data. Without data, we can't analyze, and without analysis, we can't make improvements. So I cannot stress how important it is that you actually track things. The biggest mistake we see, the most common mistake we see with anybody doing any form of marketing is they don't track. It is all based off data-driven decisions. If you don't have the data, you can't make decisions. You can't make educated decisions. So please, please, please make sure that you track all of your data. And I still to this day track all of our data myself. I've got a team that could do it, but I want to keep control of it because I know how important it is. Because if the data is wrong and I make decisions on the wrong data, then, you know, we're screwed. So I want to make sure that everything is, you know, as it should be. And I got 1,000,001 things to do. And, you know, handing off data collection is something that's very easy to do, but it's so important that I say this because I don't want you to think that, you know, nobody is above this stuff, especially if you want more calls on your calendar. So that's my little rant over. Let's look at analyzing the data. So once the campaign is finished, we can use our tracking sheet and campaign analytics to see where the bottlenecks may lie. So once we have the information, we can make data-driven decisions on how to improve performance. So that's basically the workflow, is we set hypothesis, we track each individual element so we know exactly what the campaign has done. Once we've tracked each element of the campaign, we run the campaign. We then see what the results of the campaign are, and then we analyze the data, and we do it through an analysis workflow. So below this video, you'll find a worksheet that you can follow when analyzing your campaign data. So let's open this up. So in this worksheet, we're going to cover what you need to do in order to analyze your campaign data, starting by identifying which information you need to consider, all the way through to making decisions based off the data. So, campaign analysis. Once a campaign is launched, the first metric we need to look at is our keystone metric and understand whether it's within KPI. And if it is, then we don't touch the campaign. So, how do we do that? We look at how many leads we contacted. So first of all, we need to understand what the keystone metric actually is for the individual campaign. And you have been given KPIs, established KPIs for outreach strategies, and you should have your own keystone metrics and KPIs for your paid strategies. And if you basically need to know what they are. And if your keystone metric is outside of KPI, then we need to dig into the data to understand what bottlenecks are hurting our keystone metric. So the entire goal of this analysis is to bring our keystone metric back into KPI. We have to pull and push different levers inside the funnel to positively impact our. Let's kind of run through an example with a cold email campaign. So let's stick with the Loom campaign. So first of all, we need to get our individual campaign KPIs. So I've got them here for this example. So we can see them here. So we need to benchmark our campaign KPIs against the KPIs. So again, what I've done here is I've created a little example of what our tracking sheet might look like after we have launched a campaign. And then we've got a little worksheet where I'm going to write everything down. So we've contacted 2,500 leads. So we'll do leads contacted equals 2,500. And sometimes it really pays off to write this stuff down and like analyze it and really kind of spend some time looking at it. So based off our experiment, we've done that. we've had 200 people watch the loom. So looms watched equals 200. The watch rate is 8%. Okay, what else have we got? Calls booked, 7. Okay, so let's go back here. So let's say, for example, that our so that our email open rate is 65%. So let's look at our stats, our campaign metrics, and compare them to the KPIs. So we need to benchmark. So we've got our individual campaign KPIs, which are here. There's one more missing, which is the appointment booking rate. So what we do here is we take the number of calls booked, which is 7. We divide it by the number of leads contacted, and we times it by 100. So our appointment booking rate is 0.28% in this example. So we have got our individual campaign KPIs. And now we need to benchmark our campaign metrics against the KPIs. So first KPI is email open rate, which is between 50 and 75%. Ours is 65%, so we can kind of say that that is a success. The video view rate needs to be between 8 and 15%, and our video view rate, or loom watch rate, whatever you want to call it, is 8%. So that is good. Our appointment booking rate, which is our keystone metric, is between 0.5 and 1%. And ours is only 0.28%. So that is no bueno, basically, no good. So we need to now identify which metrics are outside of KPI. We've done that. And now calculate which metrics are responsible for pulling our keystone metric out of KPI. So we can do this by looking at our causal links worksheet to identify what campaign elements could be responsible. So let's take a little look at our causal worksheet. So we got this here. We can see all of the different elements of the funnel, and we can see that our loom view rate is okay. So our video view rate is okay. So the number of people that are clicking on the video and watching it is okay, but the number of people booking the calendar is not okay. Booking a call, should I say. So why is that? What is it? What is responsible? It has to be something upstream. And just because the calendar bookings is the issue, and this is the next kind of metric that is responsible, that is within KPI, it doesn't mean that it has to happen in between these two elements. It can be anything upstream of calendar bookings. But we know that the email open rate is okay. So we know that basically from here, all of these here are okay. So it's got to be something here. So now we need to use our intuition and kind of our common sense a little bit and be like, right, so, we know that people or should I say enough people are clicking on the video. So our email copy is good enough. Our email strategy, should I say, like think like thumbnail, for example, is good enough because it's within KPI, but something isn't good enough. Something is happening between video click and call booked. So what elements are in between that? So we've got video script, we've got video delivery. So like your enthusiasm, we've got, energy, sorry, I can't spell, etc. So that could be the issue. It could be the fact that your calendar has no availability. It could be the fact that your calendar has too much availability. It could be the fact that your calendar application asks too many questions. It could be that your availability is kind of in the middle of the night. So what's the word I'm looking for? I'll just put not helpful because my mind isn't working. So what is it? What is it that's causing this problem? And we have to now use a combination of our intuition, bit of common sense, and scientific testing and our logging hypothesis to find the answer. So first off, if these are all the problems, these are all the possible problems, what I would do is I would try and rule some out straight away. So let's say, for example, here. Could it be this? Well, no, it couldn't, because I do have availability. Okay, so it's not going to be that one. Does it have too much availability? I don't know. What does that mean? Well, I would recommend that you don't have any more than like 3 to 4 days in advance if you've got, the next 60 days. Well, we can fix that really quickly. Whoops. We can fix that really quickly. So that's not really the issue. The availability is not in like the right time zone, for example. Well, I'm based in the US. My prospects are based in the US. So I don't think that's an issue. Okay. Calendar application asks too many questions. All of these things can kind of be tested through common sense and intuition. They don't need you to go and launch new campaigns to see whether or not your calendar has any availability. So there's, low-hanging fruit, so to speak, in terms of the fixing of your, or the removal of your bottlenecks. Calendar application has too many questions. That could be it. You might need to run hypothesis. So we could put that one as something to possibly test. And then these, again, we're only going to know that by testing. So now we've gone from 7, or should I say 6 options, which could be 6 rounds of testing, and we've used our common sense really to rule out a few options. So now we can be like, right, okay, we go back. We know that in terms of, so we go here, we know that all of this stuff is okay. We know that this worked. So we can basically drag this down. We can drag this down because that worked. That's got to be 50 emails a day. We can drag these 2 down. Now, here's where we need to be careful, right? So let's say that we've put put this in here, and we've got 0.28. Here's where we need to be careful. We have got an issue with three things. We need to make sure we only test one of them. Or if you have enough email addresses, you can test, we basically need to test them in isolation. So if we're going to test, for example, the video delivery, if you have listened to the video and you think, maybe I could improve the deliverability, maybe I sound a bit flat, maybe I don't sound overly enthusiastic, then what you want to do is you want to reshoot that video with the same script and send it out. So you're only changing the script. Sorry, you're only changing the delivery. So maybe we could put like notes here, and we could video script, we could do everything the same. Whoops. That could be the same. That could be the same. And then we could put some notes in here, and we could say insert note, kept everything the same, but reshot the video with more enthusiasm and excitement. We might see after running that campaign that we had a, let's say 65%, and we had a 0.32% conversion rate. So we think, okay, cool. And everything else was the same. Let's say, for example, all of this was the same. We go, right, okay. So now we need to do the exact same thing, but what we need to do is let's drag all this down. Let's delete note. We've created a new script, and we put the note in here. We have created new script, talked about the outcome more instead of focusing on the method, mentioned the offer very early on to increase retention on the video. Made sure the delivery was high energy, but not so energetic that I sounded weird. And then we might see that we get a 65% and we get a 0.6% conversion rate, appointment booking rate. And then we're like, right, this is the combination. Here we go. So now we run this, and we run this all the time. And then what we do is we might take this and we might look at our campaign and we might say, okay, well, our Loom watch rate is 8%, and based off the KPIs, it's like 8 to 15. So it's only just within KPI. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another one, and I'm going to do 5 emails a day. I'm going to email 1K total leads, 100 email addies, and I'm going to do a small test, and I'm going to test a new copy. I'm going to keep the Loom the same. I'm going to do a new script again, and I'm going to basically put all this in. I'm going to tell the notes section, so change the copy and the video, changed everything but the offer and leads to see if I can get a better video view rate. And then We go through, let's say we have another 65% open rate, and we might see a 0.8%, and we think, damn, great, perfect. And that 0.8% is born through improving the video view rate. Or you might see that it goes down to 0.43%, and you think, okay, that didn't work. And then you can basically build out your own knowledge base through this. And that is how we basically analyze the data. So we use our logging hypothesis worksheet to create a new hypothesis based on your findings. And then you create a new campaign based off your hypothesis and test. And it's just a continual process, basically, of going round and round and round, testing or creating a hypothesis, testing it, looking at the data, analyzing it, making data-driven decisions, should I say, and then going again. And that is the process, basically. So let's look at some action items for this video. We want to log your hypothesis. So use your hypothesis logging sheet to track any campaigns that you may have already launched at this stage. We want to track everything. So this is a reminder to make sure you track every campaign every day. And without tracking it, we can't make improvements. So don't think that you're going to progress and make improvements on your campaigns, book more calls, sign more clients, grow your business if you're not tracking, because it won't work. And then we need to make data-driven decisions. So we want to launch your campaigns intentionally based off the data that you receive from previous campaigns. So stick to this, and I promise you'll be amazed at the progress that you make by following this simple process of creating hypothesis, launching campaigns, analyzing the data, and creating new campaigns based off that data. Thanks for watching. That's the end of this video. I hope it's been insightful. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.